Hello and welcome to Buyside's Power Marketing webinar. Today's feature is QR codes. My name is Eric Williams, an account manager here at Buyside. And before we get going, let's just go over a quick agenda for today's call. Today, we'll be reviewing our marketing suite. We'll go quickly through our tools that you have seen before, but we'll also learn some new things about QR codes. First and foremost, I want to point out that as agents, I'm sure you get often, is the question of how's the market? So how can we answer that? We should be able to, and how can we leverage Buyside and use Buyside to be able to answer that question? First and foremost, when asked that question, you're answering a question with a question. Well, it depends. Are you a buyer or are you a seller? And if they are a seller, how can we use Buyside to help us further that conversation that you may get from that question? We'll get into that in just a minute. And then we will review QR codes. What are they? How do we make them? And how do we leverage, in particular, when we get that question, how's the market? Before we get going, I want to bring up some resources that you may not know that you have. First and foremost, we have the Buyside Insiders group on Facebook, where you can join when you go to buysideinsiders.com. It's a group of fellow Buysiders sharing best practices, tips and tricks. You can ask questions of other Buysiders, how they're leveraging Buyside. It's a great resource right there on social media. If you have any questions, we have a world-class support team by simply emailing in to support@getbuyside.com. We pride ourselves on our responsiveness and how quickly we can get back to you and try to get you on your way. And last, we have our help center. I'll show you here in this webinar how we can get to this help center and how you can navigate by searching through articles, videos, FAQs, and webinars such as this one. QR codes, what are they and how do they work? QR codes, some of you may remember, came up a few years ago, but then kind of fell flat when you had to download a special application in order to read them. They didn't really take off, but in the past year or so, they've come back due to the resurgence is really due to the development in technology where your cell phone camera can actually read the QR code and so give you the link that is behind that QR code and can direct you where you want to go. As I'm talking, some of you may have your phones out already, have it right next to the computer or in your hand. As I'm talking, pull it out, go ahead and go to your camera, and you can see the QR code on the right side of our screen here. If you open your camera and scan over it as if you were taking a picture, but not taking the picture, as soon as you get it in focus, you'll be able to, it will automatically suggest the link. You can click on that link and it'll bring you to my home valuation site. So QR codes are also known as quick response codes, are a two-dimensional barcode that are now readable by today's cameras. It's a great way to help in marketing. I often see, you'll see a resurgence even in large companies that are using QR codes. I just received an Amazon package. If anybody have gotten an Amazon package here recently, especially on the bags, I saw their QR codes if you want to learn more about their sustainable packaging, which is pretty neat. So even large companies and small companies are embracing QR codes as they come back and technology has caught up to make it easy on consumers to be able to get more information. In these cases, we want to be able to leverage and generate seller leads with our home valuation site using these QR codes. So that brings us to the next question is, how can I leverage them? We'll get to the how do I make them here in just a second. We'll get over to our dashboard, but how can I leverage them? So in print marketing, we could print it out and we can laminate it and keep it in our purse or our wallet or our pocket whenever we're out and about. We may run into those questions of how is the market? So we can present when somebody asks that question, if they're a potential seller, they can scan your QR code that'll bring them directly to your home valuation site. So they can run a home valuation right there as you're talking on their property. And you can really walk them through and discuss those valuations. It's a great idea. We've heard some agents out in the field actually using right now. There's print marketing, where we've heard of agents, and I think is a brilliant idea of after you close on a property and you send out those mailers of farming that neighborhood around that sold property, where people might be curious of their home's value. It's a great way to put their QR code to have them direct instead of expecting them to maybe type in, go to a computer and type in your home valuation site URL. you can make it a little bit easier on them to have just a scannable QR code in that digital market, rather in that print marketing, as well as digital marketing. You can put that QR code on maybe some Facebook advertisements, or if you do any other kind of marketing on other social media platforms, or within your sphere, if it inside of email, you can use in all kinds of ways, try to make it easier on the consumer to get to your home valuation site, to start playing around with it and eventually wind up a lead. Just wanted to show you a quick example of an agent that used it to farm an area after they sold their neighbor property in the neighborhood. So this would go to a neighbor that is around that property, that you can see here on that postcard. We have what's my home worth, scan now to see. So she has it up here just saying, thinking about selling a property, I can help you find a buyer for your home. It's a great way to direct them to that home valuation site to learn a little bit more. So that is a great example of a postcard. You can leverage it in different ways. You can make it the focal point of the postcard, or you can have it just as an example at the top. Now, over to how can we create a QR code? We can, first actually, let's go to a quick review, and then we'll quick review of the home valuation site marketing suite, and then we could jump into how to make it. First, we have our baked in tools of our email signature, simple copy, paste, and redirect consumers to every email you send. You could redirect them to your home valuation site. We have the share on social media. We're tied in with over 180 different social media platforms, obviously the big three, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. A simple click on one of them will bring up a pre-populated post for you to market on those social media platforms. And then we have our widget code. If we click on the gear, we have widget code. If you have a personal professional website and you'd like to drop the widget code, so when you have visitors on your website so they can search their home's value, here's widget code you can either hand to your developer, or if you know how to implement, we could drop that code on your website. Now, to create a QR code, if we click on our website, we see preview my website. We want to grab our URL here. So I went to the top, I highlighted our URL. I right click and copy. So we're gonna hold on to that for just a second. And what we're gonna do is I wanna scroll over, and I mentioned earlier when we first started, how can we get to the help center? So if I scroll over my name in the upper right, I click on help, and it brings us to our help center where we can search anything that you would like, that you'd learn, any questions. If you want to watch webinars, videos, FAQs, we can type it here. In this case, we're going to type in QR, and it'll auto suggest how to create a QR code for my home valuation site. So if you forget after this video how to create it, there's a great resource here that shows you just in a few steps how to do it. What are QR codes, why use them, and how can I create one? The reason why I want to bring you here right now is there are free QR code generators that you can find online, whether you want to Google them, you can Google them, or we suggested 3 right here that are free to generate a QR code by just clicking on one of these links. I'm going to select this first one, qr-code-generator.com. When you get to this particular site here, it'll ask you to create a free account, which I've already done. And here's my dashboard on the QR code generator. We can see create a QR code. If I were to click on it, it'll bring us that what QR code type you would like to select. I click on website, click on next at the bottom. And because we copied our home valuation site URL, I just drop it in the website field right there by right-clicking and pressing paste. And now it'll give me some options here on how I want it to look. We could do different colors if we know a hex code on what color we'd like it. If you wanted certain text, such as you can see scan me, I chose the first one. Here's just a couple more options. If you want a different verbiage, you could change it there. Different colors of the code, the actual code, you can do that. I'll just leave it in black for now. And then you can upload your own logo. So if your team or if you want your brokerage logo, you can put that right there in the middle, as I showed you on my slide deck earlier. So I uploaded Buyside's logo, so we could feature it right there in the middle, and then simply download. And it'll automatically download to your computer. So when you're creating your marketing, you can go ahead and drop it in that marketing, whether it be a postcard or any other digital marketing that you may do. Or if you just straight up want to print it out, as I suggested before, so you could keep it in your purse or your wallet, or just keep it in your pocket whenever you're going around town. It's a great way whenever you're popped with that question, how's the market going? You can ask them, are you a buyer or a seller? And then you can go about, if it's a seller, you can go about bringing them to your home valuation site, have them scan that with their cell phone on their camera, and be able to send them to the home valuation site, so we can then further that conversation about how the market is doing for their property. Because ultimately, when they ask how's the market going, they're really asking about how's it going for my property? What can I get for my property? So we could further that conversation instead of just answering good, bad, indifferent, what have you. So that was how we can create a QR code. So what is a QR code? How can we create it? How can we leverage it? And that is it for today's webinar. I just want to remind you of those 3 resources: the Buyside Insiders, where you can go buysideinsiders.com, support@getbuyside.com, and that help center. I showed you how to get to it from within your dashboard. It's super helpful, super intuitive to get to it. It answers a lot of questions. Thank you so much for taking the time. And please let the team know if you have any questions or if we can help in any way. Thank you.